So think of them really as an extension of your team who can build and own a workflow end to end instead of just helping out. So founders aren't just using agents for conversation or Q&A. So they're running entire financial validation, multi-agent support workflows, supply chain orchestration, and content management without needing humans for every single trigger point. So for example, startups like Quanto use multi-agent systems to process, validate, and reconcile split payments in minutes, a job that used to take hours or even days. Also, with Agentic AI, when a startup lands that big customer or their user base grows overnight, the AI agents can scale to match demand without doubling headcount or losing efficiency. And that's really a new fundamental way to accelerate growth. Also, agents are equipped with feedback loops that improve themselves in production, learning from data, success and failure. So companies don't just need to manually update processes all the time.
Welcome to Startuprad.io, your podcast and YouTube blog covering the German startup scene with news, interviews, and live events.
Hey guys, welcome back to our second piece in cooperation with AWS together with Jennifer. SaaS is being rewritten by agents. If you're building software today, your business model might not survive the next wave. Jennifer Grün, Senior GenAI Specialist at AWS and former startup country manager and account manager, has years of experience in the startup segment, now helping founders to rethink SaaS from the ground up with Agentic AI workflows. Today, we'll explore how agents transform SaaS, what new monetization models will dominate, and why startups need to adapt fast. Jennifer Grün is a senior specialist for generative AI and machine learning at AWS, where she drives adoption of GenAI across Europe. She brings a unique mix of consulting, business development, and startup leadership experience, having herself scaled a startup as country manager in an international environment and working with SaaS and B2C startups at AWS. This gives her first-hand understanding of the challenges founders face, from monetizing struggles to customer adoption barriers. At AWS, Jennifer helps startups and enterprises alike embed agentic AI workflows, prioritize high-impact use cases, and navigate change management. In this episode, she'll share how SaaS is being disrupted by agents and what founders must know to build the next generation of business models. Jennifer, welcome back.
Thank you, Joe. Really enjoy being back on the show.
It's my pleasure. Let's dive directly into context and trends here. Gartner lists agentic AI as a top strategic trend for 2025 and very likely much further down the road. From your perspective, working with startups, why are agents more than just a hype?
So first off, for me, it's important to recognize that agentic AI is not just another round of automation. So traditional automation, as you might know, follows scripts and rules. So things get done, but only within tightly defined boundaries. Agents, on the other hand, set goals, make independent decisions, adapt strategies, and also take action across complex multi-step processes, all with minimal human input. So think of them really as an extension of your team who can build and own a workflow end to end instead of just helping out. So founders aren't just using agents for conversation or Q&A. So they're running entire financial validation, multi-agent support workflows, supply chain orchestration, and content management without needing humans for every single trigger point. So for example, startups like Quanto use multi-agent systems to process, validate, and reconcile split payments in minutes, a job that used to take hours or even days. Also, with Agentic AI, when a startup lands that big customer or their user base grows overnight, the AI agents can scale to match demand without doubling headcount or losing efficiency. And that's really a new fundamental way to accelerate growth. Also, agents are equipped with feedback loops that improve themselves in production, learning from data, success and failure. So companies don't just need to manually update processes all the time. Also, agents don't just wait for instructions. So they spot issues, escalate, adapt campaigns, reorder inventory, or shift customer interactions on their own before problems really take a bigger impact. And also this aligns with what research shows. So organizations deploying agentic AI are starting to see already measurable business outcomes. So for instance, think about a jump in customer satisfaction, boosted employee productivity and ROI, typically achieved within a short time frame. And agentic startups draw investor attention, not just for the tech, but because autonomous systems deliver compounding value as the business scales. So this means improving margins, resilience, and speed to market. Of course, in all of the light, there's also shadow. So definitely there's security, governance, and robust guardrails that are really a must-have for going to production, especially when those agents act autonomously. So this is why also Gartner predicts that some agentic AI projects will fail early due to these hurdles.
Mm-hmm. How do you explain the difference between classical SaaS automation and agentic workflows to founders who may not have a technical background?
Yeah, I like really much the analogy of a nice recipe that you're cooking. So thinking perhaps of traditional SaaS automation like a very smart but very strict recipe. So it operates on a simple if-then logic. So if you use this ingredient, this will happen. So for instance, if a new customer signs up, then you send a welcome email. So it's really fantastic for automating predictable, repetitive tasks. So you set it up and it runs reliably in the background. But it can only do what exactly it was programmed to do. So whenever something unexpected happens, so for instance, a new field pops up in the data or a step in the process is changing, the automation is breaking. The agentic workflow, however, is completely different. So instead of this rigid recipe that we just discussed, you can think of it as hiring a proactive goal-oriented chef or employee. So you don't give this employee a step-by-step list. You give them a goal and then they figure out how to achieve it. So, for instance, instead of a workflow that just says, if a customer churns, send a survey, you might give the agent the goal, retain this customer. And the agent can then autonomously reason, plan, and take multiple actions to achieve this goal. So it can analyze, for instance, the customer's usage history to find a pattern, check also for any open support tickets or recent interactions, or also it could search the knowledge base for common issues that are related to their usage. It can also send and draft a personalized message that is offering a solution or a discount. And then it can send the message and monitor the response. And it's a huge really going away from executing predefined tasks to really proactively making decisions and taking actions. And here's another way to look at it. So especially for founders and business leaders. So traditional SaaS has also been a lot around great user interface and a suite of features that a human uses to get a job done. And the value is really in the tool itself, the dashboard, the button, the reporting chart. So we've really measured success by engagement metrics like daily active users or time spent in the app. Whereas agentic SaaS flips this a lot over because the value is no longer about the UI because the agent doesn't need a beautiful dashboard to work. It works behind the scenes. So talking to other services via APIs to get the job done. So the new metric for success is the outcome. So how well did the agent achieve its objective? Did it improve the sales conversion rate? Or did it reduce customer support ticket resolution time? So think about it like this. Your customers aren't really buying software to use a dashboard. They're buying it to solve a business problem. And that's where agents get us closer to that outcome-based business model. So it's really a fundamental change from selling a tool to selling a solution.
Mm-hmm. Selling a tool and selling a solution. I think that's a very important distinction. I may add to our audience that you shared a lot of content with us, including your AWS talks, where you contrast operational improvement versus product innovations. Where do agents fit best here?
I would say that agents really fit into both the operation improvement and the product innovation. So they're really a unique type of AI that doesn't just create content, but also takes action. So it makes them valuable both for the internal efficiency and also for creating new customer facing products. So on the operational side, agents act as proactive, goal-driven virtual collaborators. So this is where they drive significant internal efficiency gains by automating complex multi-step tasks that traditional automation couldn't handle. So let's take one example that is very popular also in the SaaS context. So it could be onboarding, where an agent would autonomously create a series of action, drafting a welcome email, setting up access, scheduling introductory meetings, sending follow-up reminders. So this really improves operational efficiency and reduces manual processes within the company. And on the product innovation side, agents are being used to create entirely new customer-facing features that were previously impossible. They go really beyond being a simple chatbot that we've accustomed to see, and it becomes a core part of the product. So, for instance, think about a product pricing agent here. So instead of just providing a dashboard with data, this is an agentic feature that acts on behalf of the users to find and implement an optimal price. So it takes a complex goal here and coordinates with other agents for instance, a demand analysis, web scraping, margin calculation to make a decision and take an action, such as updating the price in a database. And really, agents enable a new level of personalized user experience and improved automation that can be sold, for instance, for customers as a core product feature.
Let's go a little bit into what you've learned, business models and use cases. You scaled a startup yourself as country manager. From that lens, where do you see the biggest opportunities for agents in SaaS?
So if I think about the time when I was in that startup as a country manager, so I can tell you that the opportunities for AI agents aren't really just about efficiency. They're about strategic survival and growth. So I was working here with Backmarket, that is a French refurbished marketplace. And in here, I was one of the first employees where I was focused on scaling the business in Germany and ensuring that profitability, leading really to triple-digit growth in just 6 months. And it was, of course, as you can imagine, a lot of work. And I saw really firsthand how critical it is to get ahead of the curve. And if I had agents at my side, I would have been a lot quicker because I was just on my own at the time to scale the market. So agents really represent a profound shift from traditional software and give really companies a huge competitive advantage. So perhaps going back on, where I would have seen this accompany my time in the startup. So as you know, you're always at the beginning, especially you're fighting for every new customer. So agents can really be a game changer. So instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, agents can really hyper-personalize the entire customer acquisition funnel. So they can monitor market data, analyze competitor moves, and then draft tailored outreach emails for different customer segments. So if you think about a predictive analytics agents, it could analyze a user behavior on your website and score their likelihood of converting, which then allows the sales team to focus on the highest potential leads first. So really about turning data into actionable intelligence at scale, which is of course very essential for a growing business. And if I think about my role at Backmarket here, I was working with also the building a supply network and identify new partners because we were operating from France to the new market. I had to also work with existing relationships from there and provide them also with data-driven feedback, improve also their sales and also further scale the market. So I could imagine myself automating a significant portion of that work now. So the agents could monitor, for instance, the key account health. They could analyze also user-generated feedback from the support tickets and social media, and even also predict potential churn of a customer before it happens. So this frees up a lot of our time to focus on high-touch strategic relationships rather than routine check-ins. And it's not really about, replacing that human element, but also making us then more productive and impactful. So that really contributing also to revenue growth and customer retention. And lastly, I think also the future, as mentioned, is in SaaS is not just about kind of beautiful interfaces as well. AI agents don't need that. They interact directly with functions and data. So this means that the product itself can become agent first and even no UI in some cases, with the agent serving as the primary interface for the user. So, for instance, a user could simply ask an agent to create a new campaign targeting our top 10 customers in Germany who haven't made a purchase in 90 days. And the agent could then execute the multi-step workflow across various systems from the CRM to the marketing automation tool. And that doesn't only simplify the user experience, but also allows SaaS companies to focus on building a powerful interconnected backend rather than just a front-end UI.
When we were talking, I was wondering, should SaaS founders treat agents as a feature, as an enabler, or a completely new product category?
The short answer here is it's not really, as always, a one-size-fits-all solution. So let's start really with the most common and lowest risk approach. So integrating a GenAI agent as a new product feature. So this is ideal for improving existing workflows or adding a clear value add without really completely overwhelming your business model. For example, if you are a CRM company, or because I also work with software vendors, you could introduce an agent that automatically drafts follow-up emails for your sales teams. And this really provides a direct measurable improvement in productivity and can be a strong selling point. So when I was an account manager, I would have really loved that as well. So the business impact can be also very clearly stated because you have improved automation and also personalized user experience. But also you could always become more ambitious here. So for instance, if we think about an enabler agent that works to streamline entire processes, freeing up human workers for more strategic tasks. So for instance, a data analyst agent that handles data cleanup and organization, or an agent that autonomously triages customer support tickets. So this really fundamentally changes how a customer team works with your software, diving also into a deeper level of operational improvement. And I would have also loved that at my time in back market, for instance. And lastly, instead of building an agent that is living inside an existing product, the agent, and that's really the disruptive part that I see some customers of mine working on, is that the agent is the product. So this means really building a new standalone offering that is centered alongside the agent's capabilities. So here the agent isn't just an assistant, but it's really an autonomous system that takes a goal, for instance, optimizing a product's price, and then reasons, plans, and executes multiple actions to achieve it. So it might use other agents to analyze demand, scrape competitor websites, and calculate profit margins before finally updating the price in the database. So as with all the topics around AI, for getting started, focus on the business impact and feasibility of your use case. So if you're just starting, consider launching an agent as a feature to test the market and gather user feedback. But regardless of the path that you choose, remember that the agents work best when they can interact with the outside world. So really investing in a strong infrastructure foundation as well. And we have all the tools available for all different kinds of builders to make this happen.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned already a few use cases: automatic follow-up emails for sales, triage of support tickets. What do you think are the most promising SaaS use cases for an agentic workflow?
From what I observe right now, the most powerful agentic use cases in SaaS today is in BI and data analysis. So instead of really just displaying the data, agents would actively transform it into actionable insights. So imagine, for instance, a multi-agent system for product pricing optimization that we mentioned, so finding the best price. They can also monitor KPIs and detect anomalies in real time, so alerting you really to problems before they become a real issue. And also it is possible to generate reports in plain language, which also makes complex data accessible to non-technical teams. And agents can also go a step further, so automating data-driven workflows, think about inventory optimization or churn prevention by proactively identifying at-risk accounts and recommending retention strategies. So for instance, I'm working with a fintech startup that is focused on building AI to generate dashboards in natural language from customer transaction data. So their solution identifies anomalies in financial data and recently received also further approval for going beyond that for shaping the product roadmap. And if we think about marketing and sales, these are also really promising use cases, as we've seen also previously with generative AI. So agents are moving beyond the simple content generation to orchestrating entire campaigns. So you can call those the digital strategist of a marketing team, which handles a lot of the multi-step processes with autonomy. So for instance, think about a system that can create and send newsletters based on user behavior. This can mean really hyper-personalized ways of creating content at scale, unique messages, even creating personalized videos for individual users based on their behavior. And this is really interesting for media and entertainment companies out there. And also optimizing campaigns dynamically. So while really monitoring the performance and reallocating ad spend in real time for better ROI, that's something that I used also at Amazon advertising previously. That's also a great use case. So really automating that entire lead life cycle from intent-based qualification to automated sales handoff also saves your team actually countless hours on manual tasks, for instance, in the sales space. And I'm also working on with an e-commerce customer that is even using these ideas to dynamically generate content, really disrupt the way that we are currently thinking about e-commerce. And another great example that I really enjoy is also that we talked a little bit about the triage topic, but for instance, imagine an agent with memory that can remember the past interaction, preferences, and issues across multiple sessions. So there's a couple of companies I work with that are also using this for a great impact. For instance, auto-resolving 8,000 out of 16,000 customer tickets, which then includes a 4% increase in net promoter score. And that means also that the AI solution processed 5 times more tickets than human agents in its first week. And this success transformed their customer service, so allowing the human agents to focus on high-value interactions. And the same I see also with HR software that is looking into in-product chatbots to also help their customers with, agentic capabilities, thinking about tasks like summarizing CVs and analyzing employee feedback conversations.
Mm-hmm. Guys, we will be back after a short ad break talking about culture, change management, and an outlook here. Guys, welcome back from our ad break. Being here for the last quarter of 2 very long and extensive interviews that Jennifer prepared very, very well. Thank you very much. And let's dive straight in. In your view, what role do ecosystems and marketplaces play in scaling agent-based SaaS solutions?
Yeah, if I think about my experience with software companies, for a long time, I've seen that they try to be a one-stop shop, building pretty much every single feature that customers could ever need. But as also agentic-based solutions evolve, we are seeing also even for agents that one single agent can't do it all. So manually managing these different agents from different vendors can lead to how I call it, like agent coordination chaos, where there's a conflicting logic and inconsistent customer experience. And the solution is to move towards a multi-agent system, which is kind of the technical heart of a marketplace. So imagine in that scenario that a supervisor agent acts like a project manager. So he takes the complex problem and delegates subtasks to specialized agents. So in the pricing example we had earlier, a supervisor agent might send tasks to a web scraping agent to gather competitor data, another one to a demand analysis agent, and a third one to a margin calculation agent. And this collaborative approach between the agent is really a natural way to build complex workflows, just like in our usual teams. And marketplaces are really the logical extension of this. So this allows companies to easily discover and plug in these specialized agents. And this ecosystem model, I believe, leads us to the biggest business benefit, which is specialization. So a marketplace allows everyone to focus on building one or two highly specialized, let's call them best in class agents, rather than trying to create a monolithic product that does everything. So this is really a fundamental shift that enables a more, like how we call it, also best of breed approach. So take a retail company, for instance. So instead of having a single company having to build agents for every possible e-commerce task, from product recommendation to payment processing, you can source them from an ecosystem of specialized providers. So we're already seeing this in some cases with companies co-developing repeatable AI solutions with partners that are addressing specific use cases like customer support automation. So this shows that partnerships and ecosystems are a really key way to scale successful solutions into repeatable patterns. And this shift also changes the business model, with the new standard being a usage-based or value-based model, which we discussed in an earlier episode, where customers pay for the outcomes the agents deliver, not just for access to the software. But as in all the time, you always, with a lot of agents working together, you also have to take into consideration governance and security challenges. Thinking, for instance, if a malicious tool could try to trick an agent into performing a harmful action. So this is a real risk that you need to think about early. And this is where the marketplace plays its most crucial role. So for an ecosystem to succeed, it must build on a foundation of trust. So this means having rigorous governance, security, and compliance standards for all agents in the ecosystem. So customers can confidently combine agents from different vendors without fear of misuse or data breaches. And according to some discussions that I've been having, is that securing these systems requires a new security approach that combines AI-specific protection, like guardrails, with traditional application security controls and robust operational monitoring, which, for instance, is also a key part of Agent Core in AWS.
We've been talking about a lot about the agents, the marketplaces, the areas where they will be most able to help a startup. But let's talk a little bit about the people aspect, the culture and change management. A big theme in your AWS talks is creating bought-in teams. What practical step can founders take to build an internal AI literacy and reduce the potential resistance?
Yeah, if I think about that one, leaders for me have to really champion the change. So I see this a lot also in the enterprise customers I work with. So according also to a recent article and also based on my experience, only a third of the companies actually have an AI strategy. So many of the companies I work with dive into AI out of a fear of missing out, without really clarity on what problem they're trying to solve. So it really has to start with a clear purpose. So what will AI help us improve? Is it customer experience, efficiency, innovation? And that clarity, which is voiced from the top, for instance, gives the team the reason to care. And also what I find very important is that you shouldn't treat everyone the same. So you should start conducting an assessment in your team. So where are the people currently? Are they a beginner, intermediate, advanced? And then you can tailor the training accordingly. So I just came out of actually a workshop with our internal team. So really tailor it to the different audiences over here. And this really role-aligned approach ensures that you're hitting the people where they are and making sure that you deliver what they need. So also letting people get their hands dirty really with low-stake experiments. So drafting internal mockups, basic summarization, and also letting people fail fast in a safe sandbox environment is really important. because while also still going a step further, experimentation is important. It also works best when you pair it with structured training. So making sure that you have short, targeted modules that are tailored to different job functions. And I work also personally a lot with our AI champions and in the different teams. So these are really early adopters who love the tools and can show others how to apply them in context. So they create a lot of opportunities for peer learning, team sandbox projects. So we're doing that quite a lot here at AWS as well. They are trying out tools, and they're also sharing back what they learned. But also pairing this with clear AI policies, that also brings people clarity so they don't experiment in the dark or worry about violating guidelines. Because as I've seen it a lot of times is that people can resist AI because they feel it might replace their autonomy, or they just don't trust it. So treating AI with room to adjust or override, seeing it really as a sparring partner, that and also sharing small but real wins in your teams. For instance, saying, okay, I used, for instance, Agentic or another workflow to cut my reporting preparation time in half, or guess what happened when our team tried this cool tool. So we really what I see a lot of successful companies do is to celebrate these internal successes and showcase those broadly. So not really just as metrics, but really as proof points. So you can get the flywheel spinning and get more people excited. Making also these AI tools really accessible. So ensuring that employees know what's available and how to access it, that's also really key. So we have also an AWS Party Rock, which has an easy way to create apps from scratch. You can also have any other tools. Making just people try this out for themselves is so much more worthwhile than just talking about it. And that really brings a lot of excitement.
Mm-hmm. You often mentioned in like all the documentation you provided to us, you often mention AI whisperers. What exactly do you mean, and how can they accelerate the adoption inside, for example, SaaS companies?
I would like to think about AI whispers really as a kind of translator or a bridge builder. So they are the person who is equally comfortable speaking the language of a data scientist, but also the language, for instance, of a customer service representative. So their primary skill is not just the technical expertise, but the ability to really understand how AI can solve real-world business problems, and then clearly communicate that to non-technical teams, for instance. And this is really important because about 88% of employees, according to a study of Gartner, are non-technical. So the AI whisperers take the complex technical concepts and make them accessible. So it helps really to demystify the technology and shift the conversation from fear to opportunity. So they're really the human element that ensures that AI isn't just a project for the tech department, but a tool for everyone. And where I see this come into life even more is that if you pair an AI whisperer with a senior leader, that is really strategic because it can really accelerate AI adoption across the entire organization. So imagine the leader that provides a top-down vision, authority, and resources that are needed for a large-scale change. And they can set the strategic direction and signal to the entire company that AI is a priority. However, the leaders might not have really the ground level insight into how AI can practically solve day-to-day problems. And that's where the AI whisperer comes in. So it provides the bottom-up practical knowledge. So they can work with different teams, identify specific pain points, and also suggest high-impact, low-risk use cases that are perfect for a pilot, for instance. So think about reducing manual processes, or like a lot of people or almost everyone is doing right now, speeding up software development. So when you combine this leader's strategic authority with the AI whisperer's practical on-the-ground knowledge, you really create a great momentum for change. So you have these great example proof points, and the leader can then champion these successes from the top. And that really creates a powerful feedback loop that builds momentum and trust, and also builds and bridges the gap between an AI vision and a real world implementation.
I actually had to smile when I went through your material because you also talk about AI playgrounds. As a father of two, I do have a total different association with playgrounds, but those AI playgrounds, how do they encourage a safe experimentation and build culture of innovation?
Actually, I like a lot the analogy of the playground, as you just said, from the children's perspective, because if we take ourselves back to that time, we really enjoyed to learn a lot of different things. So we didn't always think about, a goal in mind. And that's also a mindset that we like to take also to AI, because you are then experimenting in a sandbox. So really a risk-free environment where you can get hands-on. You're not afraid of breaking anything or really having any massive costs attached. So it's really a low stakes space for iterative experimentation and thinking outside the box. So instead of just reading lots of things out there about what AI can do, you actually get to build and test things. So this is especially important for startups because AI, of course, isn't a magical solution for every program. So playgrounds really allow you to quickly test a new idea and see if it really has a business impact before you actually commit significant resources. So they're all about moving from a theoretical idea to a practical prototype quickly. And how do these playgrounds specifically help? So if we think about the startup context, for startups that are often short on time and money, AI playgrounds really provide a way to build quick prototypes, do a test drive of use cases without the need for a full-scale development team or complex infrastructure. So as I mentioned, we have, for instance, a free platform that you can also try out just on your phone called Party Rock, which allows you to start with a prompt, remix an app, or build from scratch so you can create simple applications. So I've seen some colleagues using this for finding the perfect recipe for cooking, or for more kind of use cases, planning a trip, finding apartments. So there's a lot of room for imagination. And when the team then knows that they can't break the system, they're more likely to be creative and try new things. So you're not focused on getting the technology perfectly right from the start, but you are focused on what business value you can create and exploring different use cases. We had also here in our teams reducing manual processes in territory planning, faster software development, or even creating personalized user experience for customers in the sales team, for instance. That really allows a startup as well to quickly evaluate a use case based on what is the business impact and feasibility. And you can really see and test the idea to see how it could help the business and whether it's even possible to build. So I've been also working on the commercial side with kind of the simulating different shoe types and seeing how which ones make it more towards the what meet the needs of the consumers. So likewise, you can use these playgrounds as well to prioritize use cases and avoid really investing in projects that don't have a clear path to success.
Mm-hmm. We've been talking about change management that is often underestimated in startups. What lessons from your own leadership experience would you pass on here?
So I think the common understanding quite often that I hear from people is that when we think of change, we often think of a new software tool or a new process. But when we think about today, the changes are quite profound. So if we also pull it back to research from Gartner, by the end of even this year and beyond, there will be some of our virtual and hybrid meetings will be attended by AI agents, not just humans. So, and if we go a step further, we also expect that by 2028, generative AI is really expected to be woven into our day-to-day work. And some of it might not require that much of an oversight as it does now. And what is exciting also that it's not just for the tech teams, as mentioned, also we have a large market to address for people that are non-technical. And this means that there's already a lot of culture shift that is happening right now, from your marketing, your sales team, human resources, all of these different departments. And if we ask ourselves then, so if the change is so constant, why do startups so often underestimate the challenge? For me, that brings me a little bit back to my time when I was a country manager for Germany in back market, where I was managing change in a fast-paced environment because we were really growing very fast. As a company, we doubled ourselves within a few months. And I was also responsible for developing, growing the business in the German market. So this means a lot of focus on customer acquisition, profitability, providing data-driven feedback, developing action plans for our partners, for the founders, to also help us pinpoint how to improve the sales. So this really required me to have many different hats, having, the information, managing change, advocating for new ways of working, while also making sure that the human element is at the forefront of it all. So in the early days, we were very focused on building a product and finding the market fit, especially as it was a new market in Germany. So the entire team, quite often we met in a single room. We have very informal chats around pizza, and change really happens organically. But as you know, and as when you scale, that informal approach is just not happening as much anymore, and it can become also actually a major liability. So there's a bigger barrier than for effective communication, for instance, from upper management, and sometimes also an inability to address resistance in the company. So this means that also when we put this into a larger perspective is that a significant number of change initiatives fail because even when we look at the research, sometimes even as high as 60 or 70%, it doesn't really mean that the change itself was bad, but it's because the people side of the equation was in some ways also mishandled. And what I learned also from my time in startups is that people won't embrace change just because you tell them to. So they really need to understand the vision behind it and how it benefits them personally. So you have to shift the narrative from change is happening to us, so to actually we are shaping this change together. And this is especially true in my experience in startups that are hyper growing, like, from a few people to then over 100 employees. There will be some people that, are part of that change, but some that are feeling left out as well, because so many things are changing constantly as your team is scaling up. And this doesn't just mean new tech or processes. So you really need to focus on the people who have to live with it every day, making sure that you have a two-way conversation, not really a top-down mandate, involving also employees then early in the process, identify change champions, which we just also shared earlier together, for instance, with the AI whisperers. Those are, really impactful people that can advocate for the new way of working. And for a major change, one tip is also consider running a small pilot program with a subset of your team. And this allows you to test the change, gather feedback, and make adjustments before rolling it out to the entire company. And making sure that you have an agile approach here that mirrors actually the iterative mindset of a startup.
Mm-hmm. Let's go a little bit into the risk and the outlook. Europe currently leading with AI regulations. We have a lot of AI Act content already. But I'm asking you, how will this shape the SaaS models built on agents?
So firstly, I believe that, or also what I've been seeing so far is that the EU AI Act doesn't really treat all the AI equally. So as we have seen, there's a classification of systems into 4 risk categories. So the unacceptable, high, limited, and minimal risk. So this means that the flexible structure around it means that you have to determine where the product lands before shipping a single feature. So if you think about the agentic analogy, this means that you're thinking about agentic SaaS, for instance, used in consequential domains like hiring, lending, or healthcare. So requirements here, of course, quite high. So you have to offer total transparency, maintain up-to-date technical documentation, keep logs, ensure really explainability, and also install mechanisms for human oversight. And SaaS teams here will need to be able to explain how and why an AI or agent made the decisions and really be able to show this part of the system lifecycle for audit purposes. If we go a step lower, then for the limited risk systems, that means, for instance, customer support chatbots or recommendation engines. So for those, rules mostly mandate transparency. So for instance, you're talking to a bot here, but it doesn't go as deep on documentation or oversight as in the previous bucket. Where we have also minimal risk AI, that would be your spam filter, which have almost no new requirements. And then unacceptable risk, these would be outrightly banned ways, for instance, social scoring for the public sector. And if we explore this further, so for any kind of SaaS company or not SaaS company, the first major challenge is mapping the agentic functionality into these buckets. So building an AI that touches hiring or financial processes. And the act also changes the game by making both the SaaS vendor and the customer, so the deployer, responsible for compliance. So you cannot just hand off the models or agents and walk away. So you really need to think about compliance support into the products, think audit logs, risk monitoring, dashboards, and user controls for then being able to do model oversight. And human oversight is then also a legal requirement. So even the most autonomous agents need a human in the loop architecture when dealing with high risk. So it also, for me, also is an interesting one here because compliance quite often is not just a legal burden, but can also be a market advantage. So as you have seen, surely, and also in one of the other episodes, there are high fines, for instance, 35 million or 7% of global turnover. So the cost of getting this wrong is really high. But I see also a lot of potential for startups who embrace compliance by offering security by design, robust documentation, and explainable AI that helps them win trust and unlock larger enterprise deals. So giving you an example, for instance, startups like the Swiss startup Lakera, they saw the gap and built a business on it. So they create stress test suites that simulate real-world attack scenarios, think about prompt exploits, adversarial contacts, and they help developers discover reliability gaps before attackers do. And also their platform embeds advanced defenses. So toxic content filters, guardrails for context windows, or input sanitization directly into the agentic orchestration pipelines. So they pair also that automated evaluation framework with model alignment tools so that agentic SaaS isn't just robust, but also explainable and safe by design. So to sum this up is for a SaaS company, really building with agents is really to determine the risk classification. So you need to establish clear boundaries and permissions for your agents. So if you think about an agent that helps customers find furniture online, that would likely be a limited risk, but an agent that automates a hiring process would be high risk. So the AI Act here places the burden on both the provider and of the AI system and the deployer, so the customer. So it's a shared journey of responsibility. And we're also happy to help you over there. We have actually an interesting article where we describe also how we as AWS help on the EU AI Act. And you'll need to basically maintain detailed records of your AI system's lifecycle from data governance to performance logs. You have to explain this really clearly. And we help, for instance, with AI service card and a safety framework that gives customers also information on the model's intended use, limitation, and responsible AI design choices, because it's super important for us. And as we've seen with this example, there's a lot of potential here to also transform compliance into a real competitive advantage, because security is a timeless principle. And when your customers then know your product is trustworthy and compliant, it really builds a foundation of trust. So it's not really about just avoiding the fines, but really about gaining market trust and also additional market share. So I find this a really interesting space.
Mm-hmm. Coming to our last question here, sitting here together for almost 3 hours. Let's give it your best. Let's give it your last. Gartner predicts by 2028, AI will be so embedded in productivity apps that oversight will be rare. What does this mean for SaaS founders today?
Yeah, that's a really great question here. And I would really like to unpack this further. So imagine the day-to-day decisions in a business. So you have the invoice processing, contract generation, to help desk automation. So handled largely looking into the future, perhaps by AI agents that set their own goals, solve problems, and communicate with other tools, all without requiring actually constant human checkpoints. And that's, as we've seen before, that's one way where the industry is going. So we expect that 1/3 of enterprise apps will include agentic AI by 2028. So this means that around 15% of all work decisions is fully on autopilot by then. And this oversight burn is shrinking, and that changes everything for SaaS product design. And this means also that agentic AI elevates the SaaS products from tools that automate routine processes to platforms that reason, adapt, and act. So founders now have to ask themselves, and that's what I advise in a lot of conversations that I go to with customers, is, am I building a workflow or am I building an agent? Because you have to really decide based on, different factors around the complexity, the cost of error, so many factors that you take into consideration. And also, is the task complex enough to need reasoning or not just automation? And do I need also multi-agent systems with specialized sub-agents where central agents manage high-level goals? And the good news here is it has never been easier to start building those, because we have so many tools at our disposition that many startups are using, like LangGraph, Crew AI. Also, we launched Amazon Bedrock Agent Core just a couple of weeks back. So this lets developers spin up agents that fetch data, execute API calls, evaluate outputs, and even self-improve via continuous feedback. So instead of customer support tickets bottlenecking really a help desk here, the agent reads complex situations, it orchestrates specialized micro agents to resolve tasks, it verifies accuracy, and delivers a consolidated solution with minimal human intervention. So I'm working also in finance with startups whose solution also validates invoices in minutes rather than hours. A single agent coordinates the data extraction, checks the supply status, crunches rules using business intelligence. So for SaaS founders that are pivoting towards agentic AI, that means products will stop being just helping humans, but they begin owning outcomes end to end. And another thing that I find really important in this context is that founders need to ask themselves, should they build custom agents, or do they want to build those off the shelf? Or do they want to partner for expertise, like thinking about Amazon Q, Strands, so many different tools for different builders' needs. And this doesn't get easier with all of these different frameworks and commercial solutions. So I've recently, when I looked into it, so there are thousands of partners, even like over 100,000 partners worldwide that are contributing to the agentic AI deployment. So making it really a huge market at the moment. So this means, as we discussed earlier, you need to upskill your teams, secure high quality data, and architect your systems for flexibility, speed, and security. And, as we said also earlier, the road is also not frictionless. So it's very likely that not all of the agentic projects that you are thinking about are not making it into production. It could be because of complexity implementation, evaluation, maintaining security. And also importantly, not all tasks make sense for agents. So there might be higher error costs, complex human judgment, and regulatory requirements that we will see increase also that may mean that human in the loop is required. So for those that are listening in today, I think that by 2028, apps will really embed agentic AI. So they will win by delivering real autonomous impact. So faster outcomes, reduced manual work, and new business value. So really, the magic I see here is in transitioning from productivity enhancement to operational ownership by the AI. And we're seeing so many great developments with open source models, low code platforms, and partner networks that make these agentic developments accessible for an increasingly large market. But of course, make sure you stay with these main frameworks in mind that always hold true for software development. So you need evaluation metrics and responsible guardrails, because as Werner Focus, our CEO, also calls it, everything fails all the time. So you really need to have this into consideration. So really thinking about will my app be the overseer? Will it be the owner? So the next few years will show how this is evolving. But I think that the winners will be those that make agentic AI not just a feature, but really a heartbeat and essential part of their business.
I think that are really great final words. Jennifer, thank you for being here, spending like 3 hours, 2 hours recording 2 episodes. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you as a guest.
Likewise, really enjoyed myself. And looking forward perhaps to the next one in a way.
That would be awesome. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's all, folks. Find more news, streams, events, and interviews at www.startuprad.io. Remember, sharing is caring.